welcome to my channel. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Story 1. Back in the old days, life in the Hmong village was simple but also kind of scary if you think about it. At night, the village was so quiet you could hear the wind blowing through the trees, carrying strange sounds from the mountains. It wasn't the kind of quiet that made you feel calm. It was the kind that made you feel like something was hiding in the dark, watching. There was this one night that I'll never forget. Every time I think about it, I get this chill running down my body, like someone's breathing on my neck. You see, in the old days, people talked a lot about spirits, curses, and other things you'd think were just made-up stories to scare kids. But after what I saw, I know some of those stories are real. It started like any other night. The sky was pitch black because the moon was hiding behind thick clouds. No one dared to walk alone at night unless they had to. But me? I didn't care. I thought I was brave, or maybe I just didn't think too much. I had stayed late at a friend's house, laughing and telling stories. When it got late, I decided to head home. My friend told me to stay until morning, but I waved him off. "It's just a short walk," I said. So there I was, walking down the dirt path that led to my house. The path cut through a patch of tall grass, and on both sides, there were rice fields stretching out into the darkness. The only sound was my footsteps crunching on the dry dirt, and the occasional rustling of grass when the wind picked up. As I walked, I started to feel strange, like something was off. My skin started to prickle, like there were tiny needles poking me. I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe I was tired, but then I saw something ahead of me, and my heart stopped. At first, I thought it was just someone walking on the path. It looked like a man, but there was something wrong. He was walking weird, kind of slow and jerky, like his legs didn't work right. His head was tilted to one side, and his arms hung limp at his sides. I stopped in my tracks, squinting to get a better look. "Hey!" I called out. He didn't answer. He was coming from the rice field, climbing up onto the path. But here's the thing, there was no bridge or crossing there. It was just a ditch filled with muddy water. I should have turned around and run back to my friend's house, but for some reason, I just stood there staring. The man kept coming closer, and when he stepped into the moonlight, I felt my legs go weak. He wasn't alive. His skin was pale and gray, like the color of ashes. His eyes were open, but they didn't look like eyes. His clothes were torn and dirty, like he had been buried and clawed his way out of the ground. I don't know why, but I couldn't move. It was like my feet were stuck to the ground. The man, or whatever it was, stopped about 10 feet away from me. He just stood there, swaying slightly, like he was waiting for something. Then he raised his head, and I swear I saw his mouth move, but no sound came out. Instead, I heard this low, raspy breathing, like he was struggling to take in air. My mind was racing. Was this a ghost? A spirit? Or something worse? My grandma used to tell me stories about the hungry dead. She said they were the souls of people who died with unfinished business, too hungry for life to move on. I didn't want to believe it, but seeing that thing in front of me, I started to think maybe she was right. The corpse took a step closer, and I finally snapped out of it. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over my own feet. "Stay away!" I shouted, my voice shaking. It didn't listen, it just kept coming, one slow, dragging step at a time. I wanted to run, but my legs felt like they were made of stone. All I could do was keep backing up, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Then I remembered something my grandma told me. She said if you ever see a spirit or something that doesn't belong in this world, you should throw something at it. Anything. It doesn't have to hurt them, just distract them long enough for you to get away. I reached into my pocket and grabbed the first thing I could find, a small rock. With all the strength I had, I threw it at the corpse. It hit him square in the chest, but he didn't even flinch. Instead, he stopped and tilted his head, almost like he was confused. That was my chance. I turned and ran as fast as I could, my feet pounding against the dirt path. I didn't dare look back. All I could think about was getting home, locking the door, and praying that thing wouldn't follow me. When I finally reached my house, I burst through the door and slammed it shut behind me. My chest was heaving and sweat was dripping down my face. My family looked at me like I was crazy, but I didn't care. "What happened?" my mother asked, her eyes wide with concern. I couldn't even speak. I just pointed toward the door, trying to catch my breath. My father grabbed a machete and went outside to check, but when he came back, he said there was nothing there. The next day, we told the village shaman what I saw. He didn't look surprised. He said sometimes the dead don't stay where they're supposed to. Maybe that man had died far from home, or maybe he had been buried without the proper rituals. Whatever the reason, his soul was restless. The shaman performed a ceremony to send the spirit away, but I didn't feel any better. Every time I walked down that path, I could still feel his presence, like he was waiting for me to come back. It's been years since that night, but I still think about it sometimes. Maybe I was just unlucky, or maybe I was meant to see him for some reason. All I know is that there are things in this world we can't explain, things that remind us how small and powerless we really are. Story 2. So, this happened when I was younger. I had just finished helping my parents harvest the rice fields. It was hard work, but when the day was done, the village men would always gather together to relax. You know how it is. Lots of laughter, stories, and just passing the time. This particular night, the moon was full, lighting up the village like it was almost daytime. It was peaceful, and everything felt calm. I remember sitting with some of the older men by the fire. The night was cool, and you could hear the crickets chirping. Somebody had just told a funny story about his cousin falling off a water buffalo, and we were all laughing so hard our sides hurt. But then, out of nowhere, the laughter stopped. It was this sound, soft at first, like a shuffle, but it wasn't coming from anyone sitting with us. It was coming from the direction of the forest. You know how sometimes, when something doesn't feel right, your body reacts before your brain catches up. That's what happened. My laughter died in my throat, and my hair stood on end. We all turned our heads at the same time, looking toward the forest. The sound was getting closer, but it was uneven, like someone dragging one foot behind the other. Shuffle, drag, shuffle, drag. One of the older men whispered, "The dead are walking." Everyone froze. In our culture, we respect the dead, but we also fear them. We all stared at the edge of the forest, and that's when we saw it. At first, it looked like a person, just a figure in the moonlight. But the way it moved wasn't right. Its head hung low, and its arms swayed unnaturally. It was slow, like it was struggling with every step. My first thought was, maybe someone got hurt in the woods and was trying to get back to the village. But as it got closer, we realized something was very, very wrong. The smell hit us before anything else. It was awful, like rotten meat left out in the sun. You could almost taste it in the back of your throat. People started covering their noses, and some of the younger men stood up, ready to help, or fight if they had to. When it finally stepped into the light of the fire, I swear to you, I almost passed out. It was a man, or what used to be a man. His clothes were torn and covered in dirt, like he had clawed his way out of a grave. His skin was gray and wrinkled, stretched tight over his bones. But the worst part was his face. His eyes were wide open, but they didn't look like they could see. His mouth hung open too, and there was dried blood crusted around it. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. It felt like even the crickets had stopped chirping. All I could hear was the pounding of my own heart. One of the men whispered, "That's Yang." Yang had died weeks ago. I remember the funeral clearly. He was young, only in his 20s, and had fallen sick suddenly. The shaman said it was his time, so we buried him with the proper rituals. There was no reason for him to be here now, walking around like this. One of the older men stood up, his voice shaking. "Yang, go back. You don't belong here." The thing didn't respond. It just kept walking toward us, slow and steady. Shuffle, drag, shuffle, drag. Another man grabbed a burning stick from the fire and held it out like a weapon. "Stay back!" he shouted, but his voice cracked halfway through. Yang, or whatever that thing was, stopped. It tilted its head, almost like it was confused. Then, to everyone's horror, it smiled. It was a crooked, unnatural smile that made my stomach turn. And then it started laughing. The sound didn't even sound human. It was like a gurgle mixed with a growl, like it was choking on something. The man with the burning stick threw it at the thing, and that's when everything went crazy. The stick hit its chest, and for a moment we all thought it might burn. But no, the thing looked down, brushed the stick off like it was nothing, and started running toward us. Let me tell you, I've never seen grown men run so fast. We scattered like scared chickens. I tripped over a log, trying to get away, and fell flat on my face. When I looked up, Yang was standing over me, that horrible smile still plastered on his face. His mouth opened wider, and I swear I could see maggots wriggling inside. I don't know what happened next, but I remember screaming and throwing dirt in its face. Somehow I managed to scramble to my feet and run. I didn't stop running until I reached my house. I slammed the door shut and bolted it, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. The rest of the night was a blur. I stayed up clutching a knife and waited for the sun to rise. When morning came, the whole village was in chaos. Everyone was talking about what happened. The shaman came to our house later that day. He said Yang's spirit had been restless and that someone must have disturbed his grave. We all went to the burial site together, and sure enough, the ground was dug up. The shaman performed another ritual to calm Yang's spirit and rebury him properly. After that, we didn't see him again, but the village never felt the same. People avoided the forest at night, and nobody talked about what happened. But I'm telling you now because I want you to understand. There are things in this world that we'll never fully understand. Thank you for listening to this video. I'll see you in the next one.